Curators Journey. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, my guest is Rajdeep Sardesai. Yes, the same Rajdeep Sardesai who you've been seeing on TV for more than 30 years. I hope you'll have an interesting session because I'm really looking forward to this one. Let's see what all we end up discussing, but I'll definitely ask him about his love for food and travel. So, let's not waste much time and get right into it. After all, it's a curator's journey and you're a part of it. Let's go.
I'm sending a message to Rajdeep. Hi Rajdeep, how are you?
Very well, very well. Let's start whenever you're ready.
Yes, we're going to start now. See, I have your channel at the back.
Excellent, thank you. Prime Minister speaking to you and
Yeah, so you should feel at home in your home address.
no
Okay,
worries,
so
no
then,
worries.
yeah. So we'll just start off and just say thank you and all that so that some more people
Sure.
can join.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'll just officially welcome you, and then we'll start off by the
Sure.
time, in another 3-4 minutes. So, thank you so much for coming. I think it's very generous of you, and for people who are listening, I have to say that Rajdeep is one of the most, he's a thorough gentleman. I haven't met many people like him. He's extremely humble, very down to earth, and very approachable. And also, the amazing thing is, I asked him, "Do you want my questions beforehand?" So he said, "No, it's okay. You ask me what you want." And Rajdeep, thank you. That was so cool because it shows, it's a tremendous level of trust, I could just goof it up and
No.
then,
It's just that you have nothing to hide in life. You might as well
yeah,
ask what you want.
okay.
I
Thank you
complain.
so much.
I complain that netas want questions in advance. So how can I ask for questions in advance?
Yeah, no, it makes me feel more responsible that I should this should go off well because you have sort of come here and honored me. So thank you for that.
Thank you,
I
Sadhna, and thank you
appreciate
for
that.
having me.
Yeah, and also I want to just give a slight formal introduction.
Sure.
Rajdeep is a senior journalist who has won numerous awards for excellence in his field. He is the winner of the prestigious Padma Shri for journalism in 2008, the International Broadcasters Award in 2002, and the Ramnath Goenka Award for Excellence in Journalism Award in 2007. He has 3 books to his credit, two political in 2014 and 19, pertaining to that election, and one is about his love cricket. Yeah,
Yes,
and
that's right.
he has even played first-class cricket at Oxford and made it to the India under 19 trial camp. So that's extremely, accomplished, Rajdeep. Thank you so much. And anything you want to say before we start off?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. This is the first Instagram live in a way that I'm doing, so I'm not very familiar. I'm not very technologically friendly. But so thank you for having me and sort of making me make my debut on Instagram in a way. It's a medium I'm not very familiar with.
No, that's one. We all learn. Even I learned it for this. So,
Great.
just for your information, I've been doing this chat called a Curator's Journey because, I thought if people like you come and speak, it can inspire people in some way. And taking it forward from there, I've noticed that when I speak to people, there are a few things that are very common when I ask them about success or something. Few things are common, few things come out. And a person like you is actually living that. He is walking the talk in those elements. So let me start with one of that. And one common factor for successful people that they have mentioned on this show itself is that they actually are people who take, tough decisions, or they make choices, and very sort of tough choices which could change the course of your life. So if I look at your, life and history, we'll talk about your journey a bit. And let me mention that you started off by studying law, and then you changed that and you made a call, you took a call to take up journalism instead of pursuing law. So are moments like this really defining moments? And can you tell us about your journey and some more moments like this?
Sure. First of all, as I said, Sadhna, thank you very much for having me. Look, life is not a straight road. You have many forks that come at the road where you have to take calls which direction you go, left or right. Um, I was obsessed with being a cricketer. My father was a test cricketer, and I grew up in a family where cricket was the buzz. I played the game from a very young age, and I think at one level I thought that I really wanted to play cricket at the highest level, but I was just not good enough. I didn't have the talent or the hard work that was necessary to really build a professional career as a sports person, as an elite sports person. And I think I realized that about 18, 19. So when I went to Oxford, I sort of went into law with the idea that, law seemed like a career for the future for me. It was again something which I was interested in. Uh, However, when I came back from Oxford in 1988, I was 23 at the time. And, to be honest, journalism was something that was the other big obsession in my life. In fact, journalism, along with cricket, were my two big obsessions. I used to read voraciously the newspapers. And I had even worked in one of the years when I was in college in a newspaper in Mumbai called Afternoon. And, somewhere, I think that kida, if you want to call it, of journalism was always there in me. So when I came back from Oxford, I think I was on that road where I had to take a call. Do I stick around in the law, pursue a career in the law, uh, or do I sort of attempt to further my passion in journalism? And I guess I chose the passion in journalism. On hindsight, I should have stuck with the law. I would have been far wealthier. I would have been probably far more independent, and I could have possibly explored more options. But look, no regrets beyond the point, because journalism, when I joined the Times of India, there was no TV. I think we have to understand that. TV, it's not that I joined journalism to become a TV journalist. I joined because I enjoyed writing. Uh, I just liked this. When I first joined the Times of India in November '88, just the idea of being part of a newspaper, the buzz of a newsroom grabbed me in a way that a courtroom did not. Uh, and I just stuck around. By '94, I had switched to TV again, not with any particular goal in mind. You just, in life, I think I've always believed that you just go with the flow. In '88, if you asked me what was your plan as a journalist, I wouldn't have thought 1 year also ahead. Similarly, in '94, I wouldn't have thought where I was going to be. I think it's important to recognize you take one day at a time. One day at a time, maybe stretching it, but you take a year at a time. I can tell you what I'm going to be doing till December of 2020. I'm not going to be able to tell you what I'm doing Jan 2021. So I think it's important to recognize in life that you don't look too far ahead. And journalism journalism was something, as I said, I was passionate about news. I remember I was 11 years old, 1976. There was an election, US presidential election, Gerald Ford versus Jimmy Carter. And I knew everything you needed to know about that election. And I used to go to the USIS and devour, the whole election atmosphere and the debates. I guess not too many people at 11 would do that. So somewhere I think I had, as I said, this kida for, current affairs. And that's what drew me to journalism. And so here I am. I never thought I would be part of 24/7 TV, celebrity journalist. I don't even see myself as that. I am a chai biscuit journalist. I did this profession when there was no fame attached to it, or money or name. I did this profession when our byline was by a staff reporter. Nobody even knew us. I remember a group of us brought out a book after the '92-'93 riots in Mumbai. called When Bombay Burned. Nobody read it because we were not, big. Nobody knew of us. My books are read because I guess people know of me. So I've always said my dad was the celebrity. He was a cricketer. He'd been built his career from, with he had no godfather, just did it, came from a small town from Goa. He, till today, is the only Goa-born cricketer to play for India. And he was a genuine, skilled sports person. I just followed the, went with the flow. And here I am. So I've been lucky.
Yeah.
I think we are all. I call ourselves Manmohan Singh's children. We are all. Today is his birthday. If he
Oh,
wasn't around, I don't think the economy. If the economy hadn't expanded, we wouldn't have had 300 odd TV channels. If we didn't have 300 odd TV channels, I'd still be in the newspaper. If I was still in a newspaper, I'd be living in where I started off in Delhi, in Mayur Vihar or Vasant Kunj. Not that they are bad areas, but I'm just saying that, that's where a lot of my journalist friends live. So I think television gave us name, fame, money, none of which I hankered for, but it just happened that that's the flow I went with.
yeah, but I think you have taken some bold, decisions and made some choices, and you are where you are, that's been a result of that. And
Well,
of course, yeah, sorry, tell me.
no, look, you're saying bold choices. I'll give you an example. Well, it's, I think, being at the right place at the right time. As I said, I think the economy, a lot of us were, who are now in our 40s and 50s, were beneficiaries, 50s particularly, or 60s, beneficiaries of the fact that the economy expanded in the 90s. And that gave us new opportunities. I remember 2005, I left NDTV, where I had a wonderful time for 11 years to join CNN. I had to set up CNN IBN and, set up Network 18. I don't think anybody gave us a hope in hell. But it worked out because the markets were expanding, the economy was growing 7-8%, more opportunities were created. So I think we have been a very lucky. I consider myself very lucky. So I think it's important to see
Oh,
the
sure,
glass as
yeah.
half full.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, you needn't have left NDTV. So all I'm saying is you did take that step, go to set up a new thing from scratch, and then, another new thing or whatever. So that you started writing. See, you've done so many interesting things. Wonderful. So what I want to
Yeah,
really ask you is, sorry, tell me.
yeah, go ahead. No, even
Okay,
the
what I
writing,
want.
even the writing just happened. It was just that I had left CNN IBN in 2014. I was depressed. And I think I needed to take out my depression somewhere. So I took it out on the computer to write that 2014 election book.
Yeah, so that is so relevant because these days, you have to. I think the whole thing is about how we can use this time, even now, So there are people who are using it well, and I think probably, you channelize it in the right direction, and I mean, possibly you're the right person to inspire everybody about how to use this time well. You would like to say a few words and tell us about the book at this stage?
No. Look,
Say.
I wrote a book, as I said, on 2014 elections, wrote one on cricket in 2017,
Yeah,
I
see
think, and
this
then on
one.
the 2019 elections. Yeah. And, you know, uh, now 2020 was supposed to be my year of rest. I had thought I would take some time off. Then, along comes COVID, changes our lives. And you suddenly realize the only way to survive COVID is to be disciplined about life. Uh, you follow a fixed routine. Uh, I just don't have the energy to write another book for a while. No great idea either. So I'm just, I think it's important in life, as I said, to not think too far ahead. You live, you don't know what tomorrow brings. I'll tell you something which is again a wake up call. About 2 weeks ago, I got a call from Dean Jones, the Australian cricketer. He was keen to do a program, he said, for news. He said he was in Bombay to do he was commentating for the IPL, and he was wondering if a news channel would want him. I said, Dino, I'll call you back if something comes up. He died 2 days ago, uh, and I remember watching him on the midnight of the night before he died and saying, I was watching him, and next day I hear he's dead. Look,
Mm,
let's not, that's why I always believe that you've got to try and live in the moment. It's not easy, I know. All of us have our
mm,
anxieties and our stresses, but particularly in COVID times, it's important to live in the moment. It is I think COVID has been a huge wake up call for a lot of us in terms of the fact that it just reminds you that life can always bite back. So don't
yeah.
take life for granted. Just
Mm,
enjoy it while you can. Enjoy the little things of life. I spend
mm,
much more time on breakfast now than I used to, because I
mm,
think it's nice to sort of have your fruit, aram se, instead of
yeah.
rushing through breakfast. You got to take a flight. I don't want to take any 6 a.m. flights anymore in life.
Mm,
Getting up at 4 a.m. in the winter and all, no longer my scene. So I think in life you've
mm,
got to find your own little equilibrium. Not easy. I
mm,
haven't found it a lot of the times, but I think it's important for all of us to realize that you know, take it to whatever extent possible. Just live in the moment. And I think COVID has taught me that even while writing the book, I frankly did wrote those books because they were election years where I thought it was important to put certain things down for the future. But in normal times, I wouldn't even do that. I am a very lazy guy, honestly. So I live in the moment, and I need my sleep. In COVID
of
times, I sleep
course.
even more.
Good for you, Rajdeep. Okay, Rajdeep, you have thanks for the nice, motivation for everybody. Now, you have seen TV and the media industry in general evolve over 3 decades. So, anything you want to say about that? I think the people who've really hit it off well are the ones who've adapted. So anything you would want to say about how you adapted or, what were your challenges in this time or where do you think it's heading now? What would you like to say on that front?
My, you know, I must confess that I am increasingly disillusioned with the way TV is going in particular. This is not the TV news that I sort of joined. Uh, it's now become a bit of a tamasha. Look at what's happening with this whole drug the way the coverage of that has taken place. Everyone is trying to out sensationalize the other. We've lost a certain moral compass in the way we stories now. It's more about noise than news, more about sensation than sense, chaos than credibility, and that troubles me. As I said, I'm an old style print journalist. I entered TV, yes, but I entered TV with the idea that TV was the growing medium of the time of the late 90s. It wasn't meant to be this. This. Someone once told me when we were starting 24-hour channel, how will you fill up 24 hours? And that dilemma
Hmm.
now is being resolved. You fill
Exactly.
it up with tamasha. you
Tamasha,
know
yeah.
I'm glad behind you the prime minister is speaking. That's a good sign. I'd rather listen to Modi than listen to all some of the tamasha over this Bollywood case.
Hmm.
The economy is down. There's China, there's COVID. We need to focus on the bigger issues of our times, not on what we are seeing around us. And a lot of it, and what chalo tamasha to I can live with. What I can't live with is fake news. That
Yeah.
is dangerous. And until you are a victim of fake news, you won't realize what it does to people. Why should
Hmm.
someone be treated as a guilty person when he or she may well be innocent? We make all kinds of very, very serious allegations about people without having enough proof. So I'm depressed about TV, but I also believe this is a great generation in terms of technology, and the younger people that I meet are very idealistic. They know how to use technology, married to content. So I'd like to also believe that the glass is half full in that sense. So while the worry is about tamasha and what it's doing to journalism, I think there is also the hope that technology will make journalism accessible to more and more people, will create more citizen journalists who will hopefully tell many, many more stories.
Yeah, because sometimes, somewhere the actual story goes for a toss. It's just all the periphery stuff which, kind of people are
Yeah.
talking about or whatever. So that's very dangerous. And Rajdeep, also the fact that, you personally had a few tough turns to maneuver, if I may say that, or whatever. How do you really, I really admire the way that you just go on and on without sort of getting disgruntled and all. I also I've had a couple of other guests and I've asked them this, that how do you manage to really pick pick yourself up every time and go on? Because this is another characteristic of a successful leader. And I think you're a good example of people who, just carry on.
You got to carry on. I mean, look, I don't know how long, but you carry on because at 55, what else will you do? You spent 33 years of your life invested in this. I don't think you're capable of doing anything else. And I'm not capable of doing too much else. So this is something I know. But I remember when I was young,
No,
when
but
I one.
Rajdeep, sorry, I just want to interrupt you for a second. What I'm talking about is a mental strength. It doesn't have anything to do with media. What it
Sure.
needs and what you have probably is it's inner strength or something more than just the news. So I'm talking
No,
about that
it's
because that is what
no,
inspires people.
no. I no. I think look, there are two parts to it. I think at the end of the day, I've often believed that the only person you are answerable to in the end is your conscience. You could argue to some extent to your family because family is very special, but family, yes, but conscience definitely. And if you have nothing to hide, that's why when you said what questions do you want to ask, I have nothing to hide. I've made mistakes in life. I'm happy to recognize those mistakes. It's important to recognize mistakes in life. But I've tried to be as honest as I possibly can to my conscience and my calling. I may make mistakes, but as long as you know that, you can live with it, right? I mean, that's the way I am. I believe it's important to recognize your mistakes and then just treat every day as a new day. When I was my first job in the cabin next to me was R.K. Lakshman, the great cartoonist. And I used to ask Lakshman. Lakshman did cartooning, the pocket cartoon at the Times of India for 40, 45 years. I said, what keeps you going? He said, I treat every day as if it's my first cartoon. It's a bit like Sachin Tendulkar. One of the reasons I think Sachin Tendulkar endured in cricket for so long and with his feet on the ground was because he saw every time he went out to bat as his first innings for India. So I think if you do that, if you treat every article as your first article, every show as your first show, you're learning something new all the time. B, it energizes you. The mental strength, I think, comes from your sort of sense of conviction, your sort of, as I said, a moral compass where you believe that you've got to follow a certain path. You don't try and take deliberate shortcuts to get where you have to. And number two is that you realize, at the end of the day, there's more to life than just work. There's much more to life than just work. Uh, and three, the Lakshman theory, which is that you treat every day as new day. But I, I think we all get so caught up in what we are doing, and then that leads to anxiety and stress. Uh, I think somewhere you have to switch off. You have to sleep well. Sleep is important. Uh, in
Yeah.
Goa, we call it, in Goa, it's the Portuguese word sossegado. I think I can realize why the Portuguese like their siesta. It's important to get that 1 hour completely switched off in the afternoons. And it's, I believe it's important for anyone to switch off at times. Just come to terms with yourself, meditate, do what you want, but just switch off from all the noise around you. There's a lot of noise in the world around us, and you can get, particularly in this age of social media and all, it can affect you. It's affected me in the past, but over time I've realized that what is important in life is your family, what your conscience, and you live with that.
Yeah, that's true. What happens is that at times with news, I'm saying let's start off when Corona just came in, then
Hmm.
I mean for say 10 days one watched the news. After that, people stopped watching because it was such an overload of, the same information in different ways or whatever. So then they must have picked another thing. Now lately they've picked a third thing. And there's so much of information about that thing in different, forms and shapes and sizes that beyond a point, you can't, you need to switch off or whatever. And yeah, I agree. Sleep is a very good way to
Yeah,
kind of recuperate. I
look, 24/7 news is basically, you have to have your hand on the wheel, uh, because you never know what tomorrow brings. Every day you might have some news story coming in from somewhere. You just have, you sort of are chained almost to the news wheel. So I've told someone, if I cut out, I have to cut out completely. You can't be halfway. Go and maybe I have this sort of dream of going to a mango farm in Goa and living life on a mango farm. My kids and my wife tell me that I'll never be able to survive more than a week. I'll get bored. But I don't know. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Who knows?
Yeah, I hope the mango farm will have a network and TV,
No, no.
satellite, I mean, whatever, television and all.
Yeah. Well, I'll watch my sport. The only thing I watch at home is sport. I don't watch news at home.
Okay, great. Okay, so maybe we can talk a little bit about your love for food and travel. I know you enjoy your food. Why don't you tell us about that and travel also? I'm waiting to plan something for you. Why don't you tell us, tell our viewers what some nice trip that you are looking for or already done or whatever. What's your favorite destination?
you know, uh, I'm not a foodie in the sense of eating a lot, but I like to
You
experiment.
like to try different things,
Yeah, I like
yeah.
to experiment. And, this is the most wonderful country in the world for a variety of reasons. And one of it is just the sheer variety of cuisine. Last year during the elections, we went to Madurai, and Chettinad food is just fantastic. It's the most, and we had the most unbelievable food and in India, you often get the best food in the smallest places in the most unknown sort of towns. So in Karaikudi, we went to this small place, amazing Chettinad chicken. Very, very spicy, but still terrific. So, to my mind, these are the things that sort of, give you that's the variety of India, which is
Local
unbelievable.
cuisine and
Oh, it's
hmm.
unbelievable. Local cuisine is unbelievable in India, and that's what is attractive. So you can have goshtaba in Kashmir, you can have chettinad chicken, you can have poha in Mumbai, you can have the most fantastic curry in Ahmedabad, you can have your butter chicken in Delhi, you can have your paratha and lassi in Ludhiana. I'm already now imagining all the various things that I hope. But I did a lot of it over the last few years. In a month's time, there's an election in Bihar. Maybe I'll go and have some nice litti choka or whatever is important in that part of the world. So
Yeah,
wherever you
litti
go,
choka.
you just go with the flow. You asked about holidays. You gave me a fantastic holiday in Portugal. It was a great dream of mine to go to Portugal. So that was why I'd love to go to the West Indies. The one place I want to go is the Caribbean. Uh, Unfortunately, I didn't go when West Indies cricket was at its peak because everyone told me that's the place to go. You get terrific rum, you get to watch cricket. I love the beaches. So if there's one place I'd like to go, is the other is Antarctica. I want to see penguins, polar bears in their natural habitat. Very ambitious, I know both these
Yeah,
places, and I'd love to go to Tahiti.
no, no.
Don't ask me why,
Okay.
but when I was
Hmm.
in school, I had done a project on Tahiti. So I guess that's one other place I'd love to go. I'd love to go to New Zealand. I think it's a beautiful country from what I can see.
It is,
So these
yes.
are some of the places I'd like to visit, but there are tons of places. I'd love to go to Central Asia uh, and see Samarkand and all these places that you only read about in history books. Lots to visit, not
I
enough time.
know. Absolutely. And I know every time you plan something, there's some important news which breaks out, and then you have to change your plan and all that stuff. But I think maybe
No,
next
no,
year.
I'm going to change that. I need to take a
Hmm.
sabbatical for a year just to travel across the world to all these lovely places. West Indies is the first. I mean, West
I
Indies, I
know.
one day, maybe when I'm 60, if I, as a 60th birthday present, I have to,
Oh, that's a long way off.
yeah, I don't think I should think, I think maybe do it next year itself. Don't, you're right. Don't
Anna?
think so far ahead.
Five,
Absolutely.
6 years is a long time. I don't
I
think.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So that would be nice. Okay. And okay, tell me what now when you look back at this stage, the older and wiser Rajdeep, what is the advice he would have given that young intern or whoever, the young journalist at TOI or whatever? What do you think? And consequently, what about the younger generation or the viewers? Like, what is the advice you'd like to give them? Is it the same thing? First, yourself. What would you have given the young
I,
Rajdeep
I would
a
have
piece of
stuck on.
advice?
I would have stuck on in the law a bit longer. Having invested in studying law, I should have really worked harder at sort of building my skill in the law. I gave it up too easily. Never give up is the advice
But
I would
maybe
give.
maybe the objective of going to Oxford was to meet Sagrika, basically.
No,
No?
I we, we
God's
we
plan.
met we met at a scholarship interview to go to Oxford. She got the scholarship and I didn't, and I've never forgiven her for that. She was obviously far more skilled in those interviews. We did it in Jamshedpur of all places. Rusi Modi, the Tata Steel chairman, at his office, the interviews were held. That was 1985 or 86. But yeah, so look, uh, what advice would I give myself? I think the advice I would give myself is, just uh, or advice to give youngsters would be just follow your passion. You know, don't get sort of, I think youngsters today get impatient too fast. They fret a lot. They're very anxious. They're very, very edgy, hyper. Just relax a bit. I think we need to be passionate, but also more relaxed. Life will throw lots of googlies at you. You just got to play each of them with an element of patience. I think one of the skills that I'm learning as I get older is slowly trying to get more patient. It's important to remain patient. uh, you know जो होना है वो होगा. आदमी मुसाफिर है, वो आता है जाता है. So, don't try and don't. Life is not a 100-meter sprint. Life is a bit of a marathon, and you just sort of go with the wind. So I would tell the young to be passionate but also patient.
I think the problem is nobody wants to get left behind. So if you take it slow, if you're patient, or whatever, if you take things lightly, or things like the youngsters don't want to do it because they think they'll get left behind.
Yeah, but look, I can understand where they're coming from. This is the Instagram generation. This is the social media generation. But we are driven too much by social media. I recommend everyone see this documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. How social media is manipulating our minds. How all the time we are watching our phones. What is our friend going to say about us? Who's writing to me on Facebook? Who's tweeting about me? What do I, who is on my Insta account? We just have to switch off. I when we were growing up, we didn't have social media, right? So we could actually spend time talking to each other, having conversations, building relationships, enjoying the little things of life. One of the things I remember that I used to do a lot when I was young was stamp collecting. I was an obsessive stamp collector. Today, who collects stamps? A coin collector. The little things in life, making maybe, cutting out articles from newspapers. Nobody does that anymore. Everything's on Google. Google Namo Shiva is the way forward. So I think we all have to spend a little bit more time with ourselves, with the people we care for, and less time on our mobile, and less time on Facebook and Insta and Twitter. I think these are they'll take over your lives. Yeah, they're like digital Frankensteins. They take over your lives. So we've got to be very
Yeah.
careful about that.
Unfortunately, we get up and the first thing we do is look at the phone and see who all had, written a few things or
Yeah.
whatever. And we don't want to miss
I see
out
my friend
anything.
Vivian. I
Yeah.
see Vivian is also
Vivian is
on the
here,
chat.
yeah.
Yeah, he gave me a lovely lunch today.
Yeah, hi.
I spent and I enjoyed it because I think after a long time for 2 hours I didn't look at my mobile. I think it's critical. I mean, if we could spend more time without looking at our mobile,
Our
worried about
mobile, yeah.
this WhatsApp has also created so I think it's important to spend time with yourself, breathe, and spend time with yourself.
Absolutely. So, I know you have a meeting with the WHO, and we
Yes,
have like 5, 7 minutes. So, I wanted to ask people if they have any questions that they want to ask you for 5 minutes.
sure,
Is that okay? Yeah.
sure.
Does anybody have any questions you want me to ask Rajdeep anything? Just type your question. Maybe we can ask him a couple of things. Anybody has a question? I'm sorry I didn't see the earlier remarks because they were going too fast. Does anybody want to ask anything? Somebody says, how's your feeling about future of media and news channels in India?
I I often say that only watch a news channel only if you have very low blood pressure and you want to increase your blood pressure. Or if there's somebody in your family in a coma, put a news channel in that room, the person will jump out of coma. But more seriously, the future of TV media is under serious question. But the media, I believe, as a multimedia, this is an age of real-time communication. Everything is now available real time. You don't have to wait next morning for breaking news. It's available here and now. So I'd like to believe that, look, the world is coming together. It's a smaller place. And I think as the world sort of shrinks, becomes smaller, the media plays a greater and greater role in our lives. It was newspapers in my time, but today look at what social media has done.
Exactly. Okay, somebody's asking, can we have something like the big fight again?
Uh, of course we can. I mean, the big fight was, in a generation where politicians came on programs like that. I remember in Narendra Modi ji came on the big fight in September 2001, the week of 9/11, 2 days after it, versus Rafiq Zakaria and I think G. Partha. Now today, the big politicians don't want to come on debates. They don't want press conferences. They don't want to take questions. I'd love to do a program like Big Fight, but I don't know whether I think I'm now past it. I would rather just do a round table and just listen to intelligent voices, much more like what Fareed Zakaria does at CNN. I think that is the better way of doing news now, rather than doing noise. But yeah, so it's maybe something like that. Maybe doing it on social media, not just on TV. Just a nice round
Yeah,
table
maybe
chatty.
a live in a live format or something like
Yeah, where
that.
people
Yeah,
can ask questions. Maybe something like
directly.
this.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I think I think you need to change formats. I think Big Fight was fine in the times in which we lived. The big guests, as I said, would come to
maybe
the
the
studio, but
concept. Yeah, people,
I
the
I
concept can be kept in mind, and the format can be changed or whatever. I
I
mean,
saw a question that Vivian has asked about time management. I think
mhm.
the only way you manage time is to realize that there are 24 hours in a day. You have enough time to do everything you want in life. I think discipline is key. I think it is important to be disciplined and focused and energetic. My mom is 75, 76, and she teaches, in college even now. So I guess I've got some of that energy and discipline from her. I wish I had my father's cricket talent. I ended up getting my mother's sense of discipline. uh, and energy. So
Oh,
you
you
take
did play some cricket too. I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
must
but
take credit for the amount of cricket you played.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
also
but I
better than a lot of people.
not good enough. Not good
Okay,
enough.
so
Someone is
somebody,
asking.
Raza had asked that what about cricket journalism? Would you like to do that more focus with
Somebody
more
has to, yeah,
focus?
somebody, Star Sports can come and give me a multi-million-dollar contract and I'll do it.
Okay, well, I'm sure they're listening. They'll do that, huh? Okay, Chetna says that how do you stay connected with news and also your own time and space? You know, how do you keep your balance, mental balance, I guess? You have to be, you're so into the news as well as you have to have your own time. So how do you balance it?
You know, I switch off when I come home. I don't get
Okay.
involved in the news. I was different in the NDTV and CNN IBN days. As I told someone, I was doing everything at CNN IBN from jhadu pocha to getting the news. Whatever was required. Now I'm a little bit more laid back, but I think it's important to keep time for yourself, and that's what I do. I sort of spend more and more trying to sort of read, write, do other things in life, not just track the news 24/7. Uh, Although I must confess that news is all consuming, uh, I do try and create spaces for myself to whatever extent it's possible. I listen to Kishore Kumar whenever I'm depressed, and I watch Sachin Tendulkar's old innings or Gavaskar's old innings, old cricket matches, and old music, Hindi film music of the 50s and 60s, and cricket matches of the 70s and 80s. Good enough.
Any favorite song?
Lots of favorite songs. It depends on the day and which way I've got up. But there's one song of Rajesh Khanna which has always been my favorite. Aapki Kasam is the film. Anand Bakshi is the lyricist. R.D. Burman is the music director, and Kishore Kumar's आवाज. जिंदगी के सफर में गुजर जाते हैं वो मकाम वो फिर नहीं आते.
फिर नहीं आते.
I
Lovely song.
magic, pure magic. Uh, but there are lots of songs. Deewana Hua
And it was
Badal.
shot very well also, They showed the different
Yeah,
seasons and all. Yeah.
yeah, you saw it. Wonderful film.
Yeah.
And there's Deewana Hua Badal. I mean, think of the words of that song. Deewana Hua Badal. Oh, too good. Uh, and there are lots of such songs. Yeah, ये शाम मस्तानी मधोश किए जाए, मुझे दूर कोई खींचे तेरी ओर लिए जाए. I'm a sucker for Hindi cinema of the 60s and 70s as far as music goes. So that's how I walk in the morning. I put 60s, 70s music, or I listen to Neil Diamond, who's my favorite, all-time favorite singer. Sweet Caroline and Crackling Rosie and Song Sung Blue. I'm a 70s kid. So I guess I, grew up in that era. The music, one thing is definite. The music of the era that I grew up in is much better than the music my kids grew up in. I can't understand what music they listen to and why.
Hmm. I guess, yeah. So somebody asked that any other life mantras other than music, anything else you want to mention? Otherwise, other than that, I also like a couple of people have asked about your favorite journalist. So these two things I'd like you to answer.
Favorite journalist? Uh, I'm just reading Bob Woodward's book on Donald Trump called Rage. Amazing. Bob Woodward is 77 and he's still writing these books. 19th book he's written. Amazing. So Woodward is there, as a sort of benchmark of what you can do. I wouldn't sort of single out any Indian journalists, but a lot of them have done fantastic work. Look at P. Sainath's work on rural India. Amazing. What he's sort of brought India's villages to life. And so those are exceptional journalists. Yeah. There are, you said a de-stress, is it? No.
Yeah, I mean, what are your mantras for, you can say de-stressing or other than music? Somebody else had also asked it, other than music, what other life mantra can you give? Advice for stress-free life.
No, just
For
keep
unwinding and for
And I mean, in my case, I love watching sport. Sport is something where you see genuine talent. These are people. To watch elite sports person perform is just amazing. Uh, the other thing is just Sunday lunch with the family. I haven't done it for a long time. Our son he's a doctor, so we haven't seen him for almost a year now. And so I need to spend time with people who you care about. If you do that, life is
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
life. That's the best way to de-stress. I spent the afternoon with Vivian and Karen, and it was nice because when there are no expectations and you just sit around a table, it's much easier than living life where where everything is transactional today. So it's nice to have a life which is not transactional.
Wonderful. So,
Somebody's
do you
asking, how do
have
you
more?
manage?
Hmm.
I'll answer this last
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah,
Somebody
yeah.
asked, how do you manage journalism and its corporatization and the ethics as a result? I think that's a big challenge of our times. I think one of the things they need to teach in journalism school is ethics. It's going to be very, very tough in the future. Uh, Someone's also asking, who's your favorite sports? So I think they need to teach ethics in journalism school so that people realize that matters more than just the bottom line. We are not, people say TRPs. TRPs is television respect points. It shouldn't be rating points. We are not in box office. And if we realize that, I think we'd be better off. Somebody asked, who's my favorite sports person? There's only Muhammad Ali. I grew up on the Muhammad Ali generation. Shazia is asking, who's your favorite book? The book that I read, which had the most influence on me, was a book called Alive by Piers Paul Reed. It's the most fascinating real life story about these footballers who crashed. Their plane crashed in the Andes. 6 of them or 10 of them survived by eating the carcasses of their fellow players who had also died because there was no food on the top of the mountain in the Andes. And at the end of the book, they go to the priest and say, Father, forgive us for what we've done. And he says, there's no need to feel ashamed of what you've done. You did what anyone would do. So Piers Paul Reed's alive. Sports person, there's only Ali. The first, I had the great privilege of meeting Muhammad Ali once in Mumbai. It was
Wow,
terrific.
wonderful.
For me, he was exceptional. In cricket, Viv Richards, uh, you know, those are the things I can say. Viv Richards was special, and I loved it. I have just a couple of minutes. I have
Wonderful.
to leave at 7:20 because I unfortunately have to
Somebody
interview.
asked, yeah, sure, sure. Somebody's asking, how do you keep your smile intact throughout all this? What's the secret?
Uh, you just remain, as I said, I don't think, I don't think that life is too complicated without as it is. Why complicate it further? I think that's the Goan in me. The one thing that I've got from the Goan side of my life is that, a sense of susegad. And I think the fact is, I've been, lucky with sort of people around me, friends and family who keep me looking at the brighter side of life. How do you deal with rude guests? That's a good question. I don't know how to deal with them. I have to learn how to deal with rude guests. I'm trying to. I've not been very successful. I guess I need to get ruder than rude guests, but I
But
can't.
why would guests be rude to you? They
They
won't
get
be rude
rude.
to you.
No, because no, they are. I mean, today we live in a very polarized India. Everybody's shouting at each other. Everybody's labeling you. You're a bhakt, you're a chamcha, you're Congress, you're BJP. This was not the India I grew up in. We are very intolerant now. People who don't like you will, if why should I become your enemy? You and I may disagree, but why should we become enemies? We become a
Yeah,
much ruder.
that's one thing I don't understand, because if you like someone, then you must like them even they're wrong. I mean, even whatever you don't agree with, you're supposed to like. And if you
Absolutely,
dislike someone, then even if whatever they're saying is right, you would rather not agree with it, which is very
absolutely.
weird. Yeah. So,
So can I must take your leave, Sadhna, not for any other reason, but otherwise my WHO guests will kill me.
yeah, that's at 7:30, is it?
Yeah, and this is with Geneva, so they will. And unlike Indians, they're on time.
Okay. Yeah,
Sadhana, I,
I don't want you to be late.
someone asked, do you think the media is fulfilling its duty? My short answer, I don't think so. Not
Okay.
doing
So
enough.
I
Not doing
think
enough. Not doing enough.
I,
I wouldn't say not fulfilling, but not doing enough.
So I think this has been very interesting. I would like to ask more questions, and possibly some of the questions I want to ask, this is not the right time, but maybe you could come back in a month or two, and then
Sure. Very happily.
in yeah, maybe in a couple of months, and
Sure.
when things are a little different
Happily. We'll do an
regarding
end of the
certain
year.
things.
When
Yeah,
2020 is finally getting over, the year,
yeah,
India's
we'll do it in
annus
maybe
horribilis.
November or something, and then we'll, discuss about some other things a
Sure.
little more controversial and a little more openly,
Sure.
and
Sure. No problem.
we'll take more questions also. Yeah.
Sure. Including my relationship with Mr. Modi. Anytime.
Wonderful. I'm really looking forward to that now.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to the next one, and thank you for being here for this one.
Thank you.
I am grateful, Rajdeep, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks.
So, guys, how did you like the episode with Rajdeep? I'm sure you enjoyed it because I loved the interview. I hope he comes back soon like he said he would. He is so honest and extremely endearing. I think this was one of my favorite episodes. Well, till he comes back, do watch my other episodes and my other guests because they have a lot to offer too. So, you know what you have to do? You have to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you get to know when I upload something new. Ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.